Is it better to save a traditional 20% deposit when you're buying a property, or is it better off to use these 5% low deposit government grants to get into the market? Let's find out today. Let's take both examples using a 5% deposit scheme and with a traditional 20% deposit, and we're purchasing a value of a property worth $700,000. The obvious differences between a 5% versus 20% deposit is the size of the down payment. So with a 5% scheme, we're only going to be putting down a $35,000 deposit, versus if we want to put down a 20% deposit, we're going to need to fork out about $140,000. On both examples, putting down a 20% traditional deposit waives you from LMI, and with a 5% grant scheme, also you don't have to pay any lender's mortgage insurance. Our mortgage for the 5% deposit is going to be a lot higher considering that we're not putting as much money down, so it's going to be around $665,000. 6% interest, I've kept the interest rate both the same because roughly these days you can find a 5% scheme with the same amount of interest on an 80% LVR loan. And on a 20% deposit, our mortgage is going to be much lower at $560,000. Now, one of the biggest differences is the actual monthly mortgage repayment itself. So with a 5% deposit, we're looking at about $3,988 versus a 20% deposit, which is sitting at around $3,358. The monthly difference is about $600, and over 12 months, that's an extra $7,236, which is quite a lot for some people. But what you have to factor in is when you're using a 5% deposit scheme, you're getting into the market a lot sooner. This means we don't have to save up as much of a deposit to get that same exact property. And let's say you did want to go down the 20% deposit route and you didn't want to have to pay those ridiculous monthly mortgage fees. You would need an extra $105,000 just for the deposit alone. And based on Australian statistics, us Aussies only save about $1,000 every single month. And let's say you're consistently saving $1,000 every single month and you're not taking any money out of it, which is quite unrealistic for most Aussies. It would still take you around 9 years to save this $105,000. But as I mentioned before, using a 5% scheme allows you to get into the property market a lot sooner and start building equity. And based on historical data from Australian real estate over the last 20 years, on average, property prices go up by 6.8% every single year. However, I feel that's a bit too high, so I'm going to go with a more modest number of 4% growth every single year. If we did buy for $700,000 now at 4% growth, if we waited 9 years, that same exact property is going to be worth $896,000. That's $196,000 growth in those 9 years. So bearing in mind, if you did wait those 9 years to save up that 20% deposit, just think about all the equity growth that you might have missed out on. If you want to learn more about these 5% deposit schemes, you can head to the link in my profile to get connected today.